You're tuned into Abftv, where lineage meets legacy, and facts cut deeper than feelings. Here, we don't rewrite history, we correct it. Hosted by Maya and B1, two voices digging beneath the surface, challenging the data, the labels, and the lies that shape them.
Welcome back to Abftv. I'm Maya, and sitting across from me, as always, is B1.
Peace. Glad to be here.
This one's gonna be good. We've covered a lot lately, from dual citizenship to identity to data distortion, and people have questions.
Yeah, and we've got answers. Not opinions, receipts.
That's why we're calling this one Rewriting the Record, because the story most people know isn't the real story.
Exactly. So let's start where the confusion began, with who we are and how that definition keeps shifting.
All right, let's start at the root. A lot of folks heard dual citizenship and thought you were saying don't connect with Africa. But that wasn't the point, was it?
Not at all. It was about reciprocity, not rejection. See, Friedman fought for everybody else to have access here. We opened doors, we pushed policy, we built the bridge. But when it came time for anyone to open a door for us, nothing.
Right? We fought for everyone else to get in.
Exactly, but nobody held the door for us.
And that's really what you meant by dual citizenship, huh? That we gave global support, but never got the same respect back.
Exactly. That's the part people don't talk about. Look, we're not asking to be invited home. We're saying the exchange should have been equal. They've got options: Ghana, Barbados, Jamaica. But us, no offers, no dual status, no recognition, just silence.
And meanwhile, we were the ones pushing for immigration reform and civil rights that benefited everybody.
Right. We fought for inclusion on this side, but nobody fought for ours on theirs. It's not anti-Africa. It's about the imbalance.
Because unity can't just be poetic. It's gotta be practical.
Exactly. If it only works one way, it's not unity, it's usage. And once you realize that, you start to see how identity labels became part of the game.
That's where the next two videos come in. Why we dropped African American and Origins of African American. They both deal with that naming issue.
Yeah, every label we've been handed came with smaller rights and less recognition. African American sounded empowering until you trace who created it and why.
And what did you find?
It was a political brand, not a lineage term. A way to lump Friedman into a broad cultural category that anyone could adopt. Sounded good, but legally it erased us.
That's why you said rename a people, rewrite the claim.
Exactly. You can't have lineage-based policy if your category includes people who never shared your history. Once you blur the line, accountability disappears. So dropping African American wasn't division, it was correction. And that clarity is protection. Because when the data's wrong, the policy's wrong, and the people lose twice.
Right. We weren't separating, we were clarifying. Twice. Once in the narrative, once in the numbers.
Exactly. That's the identity war in a nutshell.
All right, let's get into that next one. Africa's Financial Truth, a wake-up call. That episode ruffled some feathers. You said the Diaspora unity pitch was mostly about money.
Simple. When the African Union started talking about diaspora engagement, it wasn't cultural, it was financial. They said it plainly: tap diaspora savings. They see Friedman in the US as a global ATM, not a partner.
Because people want to believe it's about reconnection, not revenue.
Right. But follow the numbers, not the hashtags. Friedman sent over $50 billion a year overseas. That's more than aid and investment combined. And we do it out of love, out of solidarity. But the institutions collecting it, they're treating it like a business model.
So, the talk of Pan-African unity sounds noble, but underneath, it's a remittance pipeline.
Exactly. Unity became a toll booth. Our compassion turned into their income stream.
So in a way, the diaspora is being double taxed, emotionally and economically.
Perfect way to say it. We're guilt-tipped into giving. They frame it like coming home, when really, it's paying in. And that's why I called it a wake-up call. If you don't understand the transaction, you'll mistake it for tradition. And the irony is that the same governments asking us for money are still funded by outside donors.
And you weren't bashing Africa, you were exposing imbalance.
Exactly. This isn't anti-Africa. It's pro-results. You can't build a global movement on emotional deposits and no accountability. If unity only works when we're quiet, that's not unity. That's silence for sale.
So what's the fix? If love alone isn't enough, what should we be doing differently?
Invest locally first. Build home base. If our neighborhoods crumble while our remittances soar, that's backwards. Repair here before you wire it there.
That part. Because love without results is just leakage. So the trap isn't giving, it's giving blindly.
Exactly. And if people take that personal, that's on them. I'm not criticizing passion, I'm protecting priorities. You can't free anyone else if your own foundation's cracking. That's the financial truth.
Now this next one, Black crime data exposed. That video shook a lot of people. You basically said the whole black crime rate narrative isn't even built on crime.
Because it's not. It's built on arrests, not convictions. And there's a big difference between who gets caught up and who actually gets proven guilty.
So when people say black folks commit more crimes, they're really just repeating arrest data.
Exactly. And the crazy part? They say 13% of the population, 26% of arrests, like it explains something, but it doesn't. That stat only tells you who's being policed, not who's being criminal.
Right, because that number doesn't account for bias, surveillance, or drop charges.
Exactly. That stat shows who's policed, not who's criminal. We're 2-3 times more likely to be arrested, 7 times more likely to be wrongfully convicted. That's targeting, not behavior.
It's crazy to note that 22% of all charges against us get dropped, which means almost a quarter of those arrests never should have happened at all.
Right. It's not about who's doing more, it's about who's targeted more. That's what the data really shows. We're not seeing criminal activity, we're seeing criminal exposure.
So, the issue isn't crime, it's contact.
Exactly. The fear becomes familiar, and the familiarity becomes policy. That's how stereotypes get budgeted.
So this isn't about denial, it's about definition.
Exactly. Because when you clean up the data, you clear up the lies.
And then the media wraps it in fear and calls it proof.
And when the lies fall apart, so does the justification for the bias.
All right, so we've talked identity, we've talked economics, and we've talked data. What ties all of this together? Because it feels like separate issues, but they all lead back to the same place.
It's one machine. Change the name, you change the claim. Shift the money, you shift the power. Distort the data, you distort the truth.
Because it feels like separate issues, but they all lead back to the same place.
Exactly. They work together. You rename a people until their debt becomes shared history. You market unity until your dollars flow out, not in. And you cook the data until perception becomes policy.
So identity, economy, and numbers, 3 lanes on the same highway.
Right. It's a 3-step loop. Rename, monetize, criminalize. That's how lineage becomes identity politics instead of legal status.
That's how they keep control. Narrative first, number second. And we keep reacting to the symptoms instead of the structure. That's why you call this episode Rewriting the Record. And the moment we start tracking ourselves accurately, the excuses fall apart. So this is bigger than identity debates. It's about accountability.
Because it's not just correcting lies, it's resetting measurements. Accurate tracking kills excuses. They can't justify neglect once numbers tell the truth.
All right, let's get into a few questions that came in after those last videos. Because as always, the comment section was alive.
Yeah, it usually is. Let's hear it.
First one says, if you're against dual citizenship, doesn't that mean you're against unity with Africa or the Caribbean?
That's a common misunderstanding. We're not against unity, we're against one-sided unity. We fought for everybody else to have access to this country. But when it came time for that same opportunity to reach back, nobody extended it. That's not rejection, that's reality.
So it's not anti-Africa, it's anti-imitation.
Exactly. If the goal is global strength, it has to include fairness, not just feelings.
Next one, this came up a lot after why we dropped African American. Isn't dropping the label divisive? Don't we need one collective name to move forward?
That sounds good, but that's how we got lost in the first place. When a label can mean anything, it eventually stands for nothing. We're not dividing, we're clarifying. Because lineage isn't just a look, it's a legal category. You can't repair what you won't define.
That line hit hard. You can't repair what you won't define. I saw people quote that one in the comments.
Good, because that's the point. Precision protects you, vagueness hides you. We're done hiding.
All right, next one says, you keep mentioning data manipulation and wrongful convictions. Are you saying the justice system is intentionally biased or just broken?
Both. It's designed in a way that creates bias. And once the bias is baked in, the results look natural. When you're 2 to 3 times more likely to be arrested, 7 times more likely to be wrongfully convicted, and a quarter of your charges get dropped, that's calibration, not coincidence.
That's deep. So they're not fixing the system, they're maintaining the illusion.
Exactly. It's not malfunction, it's management. and the data becomes the cover story.
Okay, last one. Someone asked, if all this is true, what are freedmen supposed to do now? How do you even start fixing all that?
Good question. You start with ownership of your definition, your data, and your direction. If we wait for someone else to clean up the record, we'll stay misrepresented. That's why this podcast isn't just about exposing lies, it's about documenting truth. That's where repair starts.
So the fix starts with the record itself.
Exactly. Rewrite the record and you reset the foundation.
All right, we've walked through a lot today. From labels to lineage to money to data. And somehow all of it connects.
It does. Because everything we've talked about, it's not random. It's structure. And once you see the structure, you can finally start building on purpose.
So this whole podcast wasn't just cleanup. It was setup.
Exactly. And we had to clear the noise before we could show the blueprint. Because you can't talk innovation until you understand what had to be overcome first.
And we did overcome. That's the part people forget.
Exactly. We were the last group freed, but the first to lead. We created towns, businesses, schools, banks, right after bondage. The entire Black empowerment model that the world celebrates started here.
And most people don't even realize it because they bury that history under new labels and new myths. The blueprint of Black innovation, how freedmen built what the world claimed, that's gonna shake the room.
Good. It's time the room gets shaken. Because people love to talk about struggle, but they whisper about success. We're about to turn that whisper into record.
So, in a way, rewriting the record was part one.
Exactly. This was the reset. Next comes the rebuild. Because the truth isn't just something you uncover, it's something you construct.
And we've already proven we can build through anything.
Exactly. We did it before, we'll do it again. But this time, the record will show it.
That's the perfect way to end it. B1, thank you.
Always a pleasure. And to everyone listening, keep learning, keep questioning, keep tracing the lineage.
Because once you know the truth, you can't unsee it. This is Abftv, Truth Behind the Numbers.